Well, if you get to hang around Rick, eventually he will invite you to go on an international zero waste tour. So I've had the opportunity to go to Italy, the Philippines. We went to Hong Kong, Laura, Costa Rica, and India. And so anyway, stick around. Maybe you'll get invited too. So I get to talk about Alameda County Measure D, which was one of your older landfill surcharges, and it's 34 years old. How many folks are 34 and under? See? So this is a little bit of ancient history for you guys. But if you think about it, this was 1990. And it was a different world. I mean, in the mid-'80s, California was considering siting 30 incinerators around California. Only 3 got built, and there's only 1 left. So, you know, hey, we had a term called integrated waste management, which means, yeah, you could do diversion, and you could burn stuff or bury stuff. So anyway, it was a different world. But the impetus for the Alameda County Measure D was what we were all talking about at the time. It included the Mobro garbage barge, and but back in 1990, you know, the bottle bill had just passed in 1986. Our ancient, creaky old bottle bill, 1986. AB 939, which was the original SB 1383, if you guys don't know, passed in 1989, but was not implemented yet. So in Alameda County, which includes Oakland, Fremont, and Berkeley, and you know, whatever, 10 other jurisdictions, you know, we didn't have curbside. In Berkeley we did, because they had, you know, some, you know, cotton bottles and cans and newspapers, but it was not common. And so the steering committee of the Measure D committee 35 years ago began to draft this initiative. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about it and what it's accomplished over the last 35 years. So this was a citizens initiative. We had to collect signatures to get it on the ballot. We got it on the ballot in 1990. For perspective, George H.W. Bush was president at the time. It's amended the county charter. So in California, we have, you know, municipalities and counties that some of which are charter cities or charter counties. And so by amending the county charter, that means it would be really hard to change. So if you change your charter with a citizens initiative, kind of like the People's Initiative in San Diego, which was changed, it requires a vote of the people. It passed with 63% of the vote, and it created the Alameda County Source Reduction and Recycling Board and a dedicated fund, which Rick is talking about, for source reduction and recycling. So this was our vision of Measure D. Does that look familiar? Our vision was, hey, ultimate sustainability, but we didn't really have the word for that yet. We knew that we wanted to get to 75%. AB 939, the original SB 1383, as I said, had the goal of 50%. So 25% by 1995 and 50% by 2000. And at the time, it was radical. How could we possibly get to 25%? Ridiculous, right? But guess what? We did, and by 2000, we kind of hovered around 50% statewide. We're kind of now a little bit 41, 45, around 41, 45%. But we're going to get there. We're going to get there, so we will eventually get there. But in Measure D included that goal of 75%. Radical. Oh my gosh, we can't even get to 25, let alone 75%. But it established a further goal, which we called Sustainable Discarded Materials Management Practices, because we didn't have the word zero waste yet. Back in 1990, that concept had not been created. I was talking to Rick about it earlier. I'm like, when do you think it was? I think it was around 96, 97. He's like, no, it was 2001, 2003. So anyway, but we didn't have it back in 1990. Here are some of the elements of Measure D. Measure D put a $6 per ton, so not $1 being proposed by Rick, $6 per ton surcharge on all tons going to landfills in Alameda County. Over a short period of time, that increased by cost of living, and it is now $8.23. It hasn't gone up based on cost of living for many years because of, Prop 26, Prop 218, everything else that keeps us from doing good things, right? Raising funds. But it is sort of stuck at $8.23, but that's still a lot of money, it turns out. And it raises about $10 million per year. 50% of that money goes back to the jurisdictions in Alameda County to implement local programs, and then 50% is retained for county-wide programs. So at the time, back in 1990, we were like, oh, what should we put in? What should we all think about having? We did not have the idea about source-separated organics, countywide, food recovery, all the cool things that we do now. But we said, hey, at a minimum, we need curbside countywide. We need curbside recycling for every residence. Radical. And source reduction. We didn't even know what that was necessarily, but we wanted source reduction initiatives. We wanted commercial recycling. Very few commercial businesses took advantage of recycling. Some of them that had a lot of office paper or a lot of cardboard were able to sell it, but it's pretty rare. Market development and buy recycled program. Those were the major elements of Measure D, but it became the tail that wagged the bigger dog. Another piece of Measure D was thinking about things differently. So rather than thinking about, we have these few recyclables that we can take away from the trash. Recyclables are what we have after we trash is what we have after we recycle. Well, we were like, no, it's all potentially recoverable. Or, so trash is just that little bit that we have left over after we reduce, reuse, recycle. So it was kind of bending that mindset of, just a precious few things that are commodities that are valuable, as opposed to, hey, all of the discarded materials are potentially valuable and can be diverted from disposal. So the concept of the 12 master categories, which was invented by Urban Orr and Dan Knapp and Mary Lou Van Deventer up in Berkeley after studying the garbage for a really long time at the Berkeley transfer station. And then Rick has since popularized this around the world as the 12 market categories of materials. So everything can be divided into these 12 categories. And we recently completed a characterization study for the city of Berkeley using these 12 categories, and it of course works because everything can be included in these 12. But that's codified in Measure D. Measure D ultimately created stop waste. And if anybody know about stop waste is Alameda County, up there and it's very famous now. Stop Waste was originally the Alameda County Waste Management Authority. That still exists. It's a joint powers authority that consists of the 17 member agencies. It's the 14 cities that are in Alameda County, including Berkeley, Oakland, Fremont, et cetera, plus the county and 2 sanitary districts. That's the 17-member board of directors there. And it was formed in 1976 specifically to develop reserve landfill capacity. So Waste Management had created a new landfill in the Altamont range in the Livermore area, and it was felt that we should have a public option potentially. So the board was created to buy a lot of land. Alameda County Waste Management Authority is a very large landowner in the Altamont. If you go over that pass where all the wind turbines are, they own a lot of that land out there, which is now range land, and they also use it for carbon farming. So that's pretty cool. That was 1976. In 1990, the Measure D created the Alameda County Source Reduction and Recycling Board. And the Measure D, requires that 5 of those members be from the Waste Management Authority. So, hey, JPA appoints 5 of its members. And those are typically members of the City Council or the Board of Supervisors, so elected officials. And then 6 members are appointed by the Board of Supervisors. So the Board of Supervisors of Alameda County appoints 6 members to the Recycling Board, and they include people from different specializations, a source reduction specialist, someone from the collection industry, somebody from the environmental community, somebody who is an expert at materials processing. So there are 6 members that are appointed by the Board of Supervisors. And there's one more part of Stop Waste, which you may not know about, which is the Energy Council. And the Energy Council was formed by the 15 jurisdictions, does include the sanitary districts. I guess they're not as interested in energy efficiency, but it was formed back in 2013, specifically to address energy efficiency, renewable energy, and the built environment, electrification, et cetera. And that came about because a lot of Stop Waste work was around buildings and healthy buildings and, building reuse and, green building practices. And so it was sort of a normal follow-on for their activities. And now in Alameda County, the East Bay, we have a lot of 100% green power, and Stop Waste continues to contribute to that. So the fees and fundings for Stop Waste include Measure D. A big chunk of that is Measure D, the $8.23 per ton. But they also have other fees. So they have the AB 939 facility fee of $4.35. They have a household hazardous waste fee, which generates a fund for the 3 permanent household hazardous waste facilities in Alameda County, and an import mitigation fee for landfill materials that come from outside of Alameda County. And then they get grants and contracts, and that's particularly the case for the Energy Council. It's funded from external sources. That ends up being $38 million per year, guys, which over the course of the 34 years or 30 years that Measure D has been implemented, just the Measure D fee alone has been about $250 million. So that's a lot. You could do a lot with $250 million. So, and then this is just by program. So you can, I just showed this because the big green part is the recycling board, the big blue part is the Waste Management Authority, and then that Energy Council piece, which is from external funding. But, again, it's been a long time since Measure D was implemented, and we did the Buy Recycled campaign, and we do pay extra for, or did pay extra for a while, for recycled content materials. The county and all of the cities have access to funding to buy recycled. We did do county-wide commercial recycling. We did do county-wide residential recycling. And then, we went on. So for example, we're kind of all worried about SB 1383. We heard about how we're implementing collection of organics, kind of a new thing, right? Well, in Alameda, where I live, we've had curbside collection of source-separated organics, food scraps, and yard trimmings since 2001. Okay, that's a long time, right? We've had citywide collection of food scraps from commercial businesses since 2001. So, we should be getting good at it, but I don't know. Anyway, so Alameda County was an innovator in source separation of organics, along with our sort of sisters across the bay in San Francisco, which had implemented source separated organic collection in the late 90s. So there was a lot of activity around that. Also around construction and demolition debris. Recycling, each of the cities in Alameda County has a C&D ordinance and has been implemented and improved over time. And we are now thinking about deconstruction and all of the things that go along with that. So Stop Waste has moved on, and so these are their overarching goals. So their overarching goals are circular economy solutions, upstream waste prevention, and healthy communities and an ecosystem. So that's kind of what they're doing now, and I'll give you a little taste of that. So some of the projects that they're working on with their $38 million a year include the built infrastructure for the circular economy. And so we're doing a lot in the reusable foodware area. Some of our jurisdictions have passed ordinances that require reusables for on-site dining. And many of our school districts have now switched to reusables or are switching to reusables. And then you can see the little picture. I believe that's in Alameda at Bay Farm Island. So they have reusable steel trays. And you would think, I was at one time at a school last year where they implemented the new steel trays. And you would think these kids, it was the most fantastic thing of the year. Look, we got steel trays. It's so awesome. They were so excited to get their steel trays. Anyway, that's one of the projects of Stop Waste. They do a grant program to nonprofits and to schools and to businesses in Alameda County. They have a revolving loan fund to fund programs, including a multi-million-dollar loan to Urban Ore, which is a big, giant reuse initiative in Berkeley. And then they do market development. Market development includes, investment in things like reuse and repair, and also businesses that are incubators for other innovation. The upstream waste prevention right now is totally focused on food, right? Because food is still the biggest piece of what you have left over in the trash, right? We're getting so good at recycling. We're getting better and better at composting. There's hardly any yard trimmings left, but there's still food. So food waste prevention, still a hot topic for everyone. School partnerships, outreach tools, a lot of grants still. And then strengthening the community through food systems, also really important with the compost hubs. We're giving away a lot of compost, as is everybody. Carbon farming, I mentioned, so they've applied a 1/4 inch of compost on their rangeland out there at the Altamont Hills area where the wind turbines are, and that's where they're sequestering carbon. That's how they're meeting their requirements under SB 1383 for purchasing and using compost products. And then, partnering with faith-based organizations and others. So that's kind of what they're focusing on now. This is the big reveal. How did we do since 1990? So 1990, we had 14% diversion from landfills, and we're burying in landfills 2 million tons of garbage per year at landfills, 2 million tons. Over the course of this several years, leading up to 2010, 2015, we were able to actually reduce the tons buried down to about 1 million tons per year. So cutting it in half. This is over the same period of time that Alameda County has grown by 25%. So we've reduced the garbage in half, but increased the population by 25%. So you can see that's a kind of a big achievement. We've had a little bit of a blip in the last few years. Maybe this was a COVID thing. Maybe this was the, AB 901 issue. I don't know, but somehow we got some extra tons assigned to us. So now we're currently burying, as of 2022, 1.2 million tons per year, which is still too much. And we're not at that 75% yet, but pretty close, right? So that's our goal. That's still our goal. This is our ultimate goal, zero waste, or darn close.